Being a 10-year-old game franchise, PvZ is bound to have some wacky, goofy, and straight up just weird plants. From the Chinese ports to the spin-offs and even some of the mainline games, PvZ has its fair share of weirdos. So I'm gonna go through some of my favorites and try to explain their origins the best I can. And stay tuned until the end because I guarantee that you've never seen at least 80% of these. The first plant we have is... I mean, look at this thing. I am feeling lots of strange things just by looking at it. That's all I'm gonna say. This guy's from Plants vs. Zombies Journey to the West, and he has a whole, evolution path. Basically, the more you leveled him up, the more powerful he got, even being able to regenerate and move him around at max level. But what I'm most concerned about is the swagger. Another plant from Journey to the West I like is... I just like it because it looks cute. Moving to this abomination of a plant, him and a bunch of other PvZ2 plants were added to Journey to the West, and let's just say, I'm sorry for giving PvZ2 Snapdragon a D tier, because this is... I don't even know what this is. It's still better than PvZ2 Scaredy Shroom. I just think it's kind of funny because I always see these videos on YouTube saying what PvZ2 plants would look like in the PvZ1 art style, and I guess here's your answer. I just think he looks super goofy and that's why he's on the list. Another plant that I kinda like is Ghost Pepper. I don't know, seeing it in the PvZ1 art style is interesting. It looks kind of uncanny, but I kinda like it. It stayed basically the same from PvZ2 and yeah, cool plant. I don't know what else to say here. Although, I guess you could subscribe. Also, there's these plants, if you care. Moving to a different game finally, we have Plants vs. Zombies Social Edition. Gosh dang it, another Chinese game. Anyway, there's a couple plants I want to talk about from this game. Unfortunately, there isn't any gameplay of these guys that I found, so instead, just enjoy me drawing. Anyway, from my understanding, this was an upgraded jalapeno that attacked vertically rather than horizontally. I just think he looks funny. He gives off drug addiction. What the heck? What is this? Apparently this guy was used to advertise a brand of plant lactic acid drink, I guess. I guess he can join the club of partnership plants. This guy was just an upgraded chomper that could eat multiple zombies at once. He gives off Garden Warfare concept art. Here's some other interesting plants from PvZ Social Edition. The next game we have is an actual mainline game known as Plants vs. Zombies Adventure. If you're a PvZ fan, you've probably heard of this game, but have you seen these plants? I mean, this is literally just a popcorn kernel. And he's just a reskin of Potato Mine, having the same ability. And then there's this. Okay, to be honest, the only reason I even included this is because of the face. Look at it. Anyway, his whole thing is that he fired rainbows and hid from the zombies when they got close. Still better than Scaredy Shroom. And my favorite, Bee Shooter. It shoots bees. You cannot make this stuff up, man. You had to pay money for this. This wasn't even free. And the bees don't even do anything different. This is truly one of the plants of all time. Now in PvZ2, there's tons of weird plants, but one of the ones that sticks out to me the most is Chili Pepper. I'm pretty sure the only reason they made this plant is because he was in PvZ3. Even the art style is based on PvZ3. But I made a whole video making the weird premium plants in PvZ2, so check that out if you want my thoughts on all of them. And of course there's Scaredy Shroom. Speaking of that ranking video, I'm actually working on a video ranking every plant from the Chinese version of the game, but in the meantime, here are some of the weird ones I found. Didn't think they could make Snapdragon look cool. Gender swap starfruit goes crazy. What is this? This is pretty cute to be honest. Okay, back to the obscure games. Plants vs. Zombies Online was a Chinese MMO SNS tower defense game with simulation and RPG elements. I don't know what any of that means, but basically it was an online version of Plants vs. Zombies 2 that you could play on a computer. That's all you really need to know. Anyway, they added a bunch of new plants to this game, but here's some of the ones that stand out to me. Carrot Rocket was a lob plant in PvZ Online that targeted the last zombie in its lane. I just think it looks goofy. Bro, what is this? Apparently, this was an instant use plant that rolled down the lane it was in, and it still looks better than 80% of the plants they added to PvZ2. Especially you, Scaredy Shroom. Can you tell that I don't like this plant? This is not Endurian. It may have the same name, and it may have the same ability, but I have no idea what this is. Also, it kind of reminds me of the PvZ3 art style, which is kind of crazy because this came out in 2014, about 8 years earlier. Also, Garlic looks so goofy in this game, but I actually kind of love it. This might actually be my favorite depiction of him. although I did like that BFN Easter egg. Here's some others that I thought were weird without any context. Moving to a game that we all know about, or at least I hope we all know about it if you're watching this video, Garden Warfare. Now, I know this is one of the most well-known weird plants, but I couldn't go this video without talking about it. Of course, I'm talking about Chester Chomper. Originally only unlockable after buying a real-life bag of Cheetos, it became free for everyone on September 5th of 2014, and what can I say? He just drips swagger like a broken faucet. There's also Citrus Cactus and Berry Shooter, but who really cares about those losers? Another weird plant from this game that many of you probably don't know about is this. It's Snapdragon with cat ears. This is a Halloween variant of Snapdragon that functions the exact same, but it has cat ears. Relatable. In Garden Warfare 2, there's significantly less weird plants, but some that come to mind are Unicorn Chomper and these Christmas variants. Moving to my favorite Chinese PvZ game, Plants vs. Zombies All-Stars, there's tons of weird plants. This game was basically a PvZ RPG, and there was a 3-stage evolution system for all the plants in the game. It's basically the same system in Pokemon, where once you evolved a plant, you couldn't devolve it, but you also couldn't get multiple of the same plant. I hope that made sense. Anyway, because it's a 3-stage evolution system, there's bound to be some weird plants in between. Remember Cattail? Well, what about Dogtail? Or even Foxtail? Nah, Dogtail is underrated though, and I say that as a cat person. There's also a Devil Jalapeno, which just goes hardest. I also really like the first evolution of Hypnoshroom and the last evolution of Coffee Bean, but this is just scratching the surface, and I might make a full video on this game later on, so stay tuned for that. In Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, there's tons of weird plants, but one that I often come back to is Snapdragon because it's weird seeing him with wings. I just realized Snapdragon's on this list a lot. Yeah, there's just something uncanny about this. Doomshroom also looks weird in this game. Speaking of Doomshroom, in BFN for some reason they decided to make him pink. This is just the base design. I think it was to make him fit in the BFN art style more, but it ends up making him look goofy and ugly, to be honest. And lastly, we have Plants vs. Zombies 3. No, the first one. I would have included the second one, but there's literally only 11 plants in that game, so let's just talk about the first PvZ3. All of them. They all look weird and ugly. I still have no idea why their main inspiration for this game's art style was the PlayStation 2, but every single plant in this game looks weird. I mean, look at Spikeweed. And do I have to mention Snapdragon? I guess if I had to choose one, I'd choose Caramel Pulp, but I am definitely going to make a future video on this game. But that just about wraps up this video. Let me know what your favorite weird plant is, or if I missed any. I might make a part 2 to this video talking about the zombies, so if you enjoyed this video and want to see that, feel free to like or subscribe, and as always,